Hello, I'm James Wells, Education Manager at Crayola. We're excited to share this series, Creative Spa for Teachers, with everyone who educates children. This is a special time and place where you can rejuvenate, refresh, and rekindle your creative spirit. While you are enjoying energizing creative experiences, you will also receive great tips on how to bring mindful experiences to children. I am thrilled to introduce today's guest, Kendra Norton, who is an author and illustrator.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you, Kendra. Art making can help us connect to our feelings, personal experiences, and the world around us. Can you share how art making has impacted your self-care and wellness?
Oh, I feel like art making has been the single most impactful thing for my self-care and wellness, truly. The processes that I've been through, leaning into my creativity is just learning to let go, leading with my authentic self. And I've learned how to try less and just the practicing of the letting go. Leaning into my art has really taught me how to trust the process. So things get messy in the middle and then I just see them through, I keep going, and oftentimes it turns into something that I really love. All of those lessons that I've learned in creating, I apply all over in my life. You know, anything can be turned into something beautiful. And also you don't have to keep working with something that you don't love. All of these little lessons help me in my life and help me with my overall wellness. Art has become not only like a friend of mine, but a tool for me in all areas of my life. And it takes practice, but those practices just have become more and more a friend of mine over time, for sure.
Love how you said that art is not only just a friend, but a tool, right? And it's through letting go, as you mentioned, where we begin to relieve the pressure of having to be perfect and just kind of lean into whatever the art tells us or directs us. So thank you for sharing how art has certainly helped you with self-care and wellness. I am excited for our viewers to learn about your reverse coloring and the 3 books you have created. Each book features a beautiful display of color that organically flows from page to page, allowing viewers to practice mindfulness, exploration, and curiosity. Can you explain what reverse coloring is and the inspiration behind creating this series?
Reverse coloring is where the book has the colors and the creator gets to make the lines. So in my books, I've created a whole series of watercolor paintings that are, to me, incomplete. And then they're like a suggestion or a starting point for a creative exploration of somebody who picks up my books. And in that way, it's like somebody can pick up the book and have a space to start. It's like going to a place of creativity where they might have felt a block before. Reverse coloring is essentially the opposite of coloring books that as you know them. As far as how reverse coloring began, I began experimenting with sketching and watercoloring because I wanted to get better at drawing. I had my own ideas of what I could do or what I couldn't do, my own level of perfectionism as an artist, and I really wanted to break through that. And what I found was, though, the more I let go of not being good, I was just able to let go of all of the stress of creating and start making really things that I loved making. What I am really grateful for is just having been through the experience of letting go of all of the ideas about how my art needed to be or how skilled I needed to be before I started creating. And that is the cool part of reverse coloring for me, was really just letting go of that pressure that I gave myself. I hope that reverse coloring is a way that people can lean into their experience of creativity more so than their ideas of how good or not good they are personally. I started laying down random watercolors and just thinking, I'll do the drawing part later. And I'm just going to put like a backdrop here of where this flower is going to go or where this leaf is going to go. And I say those things because flowers and plants are really inspiring to me. So I would lay down these just very loose colors, thinking I'm going to do some sketching and drawing later and catch the likeness of whatever I'm drawing after I'm done with this part. I started sharing this process on social media where I would lay down the colors and then do the lines over. I couldn't like deny how much fun I was having in the process and what I was creating. So in sharing that whole process with my new friends and new creative community I was finding online and my friends and family, it was kind of like, wow, I don't want to keep this to myself. I'm having so much fun. I was finding myself carrying my art with me all over the place. And I would sit down for 5 or 10 minutes at a time and just draw lines and feeling really calm and feeling really happy and excited about what was to come and happy about what I was creating. That whole process has just been a really beautiful revelation in my life.
Well, Kendra, thank you so much. It's such a gift. I'm so glad you decided to share this with the world because, I couldn't help but to get my hands on copies of these here. I mean, my daughter, my wife, son, like we love these books and certainly will be using these as we release ourselves of the stress and the anxiety of whatever happens in our life and get to the page with drawing those lines. So thank you for sharing that because it is certainly a gift. So Kendra, creative confidence can fluctuate depending on one's comfort level in a particular skill or experience. You've mentioned drawing as being something that you really wanted to get better at. So for many people, drawing brings on a roller coaster of emotions from fear or embarrassment to pride. Can you share insights on how you navigated those emotions and kept pushing forward even when you didn't feel as confident?
I didn't figure out how to do it. I just did it scared. I was scared about what I was sharing and scared about what I was drawing and scared about what I could or couldn't do. And I just decided to do it anyway. Part of that was confidence doesn't come from skill. I kind of thought that it did. I thought that when I got to be better at drawing or better at whatever skill creatively that I was looking for, that then I would feel better about my confidence and I would be able to do the things. But it doesn't actually come from skill, is what I learned. And what looks like confidence on the outside is more the practice of peeling away the judgments that I have on myself, which just allows me to keep going. All of that just allowed me to keep going and keep creating. And from there, I found that I make more and more things that I genuinely like. There's always going to be a space where I feel like I can improve as an artist and as someone who's creative, and even my skill level in using certain mediums. But that seems more like a gift now, where before it seemed more intimidating. When I first began my journey, so to speak, of trying to learn how to draw better, I'm just going to share every single thing. And that somehow let me let go of the pressure of only sharing things that were great.
I love your mindset of do it scared, because for many folks, many people, overcoming, right, building that confidence quickly, it just doesn't happen overnight. So what do you do in the meantime? You do it scared. In your case, you made yourself vulnerable, but also let go of those expectations of external or internal voices. So thank you for that. I know a lot of people will benefit from that perspective. I know I am. Kendra, teachers and parents are starting a new school year. There is a lot that goes into planning and preparing. Having the perfect start to the school year is ideal, but we know unrealistic. Like the paintings in your book, let's embrace imperfection and let go of stressful expectations. Can you demonstrate how to lean into the process of creating by showing us how to create a watercolor piece like the ones we see in your books?
I have with me some Crayola watercolor crayons, and I also have some washable watercolors here. And my most inspiring thing to paint and to draw are flowers and botanicals, leaves, those sorts of things. So I'm just going to use these and we're going to just make like a really loose bouquet, so to speak. I'm using just a plain water and a paintbrush. I'm just going to lay down some random bits of water. There's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just putting water around so that when I do touch the paper with color, then the color will kind of do whatever it wants. We're going to let that be. These watercolor crayons are really cool because they're dry and you can draw with them. And then when they touch water, they kind of seep around and it's really cool. So I'm just going to do some like random shapes. I like to do these little weird kind of squigglies, which look like nothing until you do something with them. The cool thing about these is that you can kind of push the color around a little bit. You can make it bigger than the space. You can make it contained in the space. This one started out a little more dry, so I'm just gonna pull the color out of that space a little bit, add a little bit of water. I'm really not trying to draw anything here right now. I'm just putting shapes down, and I loved this pink color, so I might just do a little bit of, I just know the peach and pinks. Oh, I just dipped this in the paint, which I found was kind of fun because it just loosens the color a little bit as I put it down. These are really fun to play with, so generally speaking, I'm considering this kind of shape, overall shape of a bouquet, but beyond that, I'm doing no planning whatsoever. If I'm gonna do one thing, I like to do multiples. So that's why you see multiple parts of the peach. It just pulls the whole page together, I guess. So we have these down and it doesn't look like much, and that's okay because at this point in the process, we're not trying to do anything. We're really just going with it. Sometimes I put music on and I feel in the music like, oh, what color does this make me think of? Or what mood is this giving me? Am I wanting lights or darks? I'm feeling today in kind of this like peach pink orange space. So I'm just gonna get some watercolor, this is the kind of peach color on my brush with some extra water. And I start with some drips and just kind of like move it up in any kind of which way. Again, I'm not trying to paint anything particular right now. When I go to create on this later, I may or may not even use these spots to draw something specific. They might just be background colors. So I'm not stressing about what this looks like. I also like to bring in some lights and darks. So if I have a really light color, I like to maybe pull something a little darker in alongside. Ooh, that one looks really pretty with the other color. Obviously, if I'm doing a botanical, I like to bring in a couple of different greens. I feel like greens are really amazing to work with because you can use all the different greens in one painting and they're not going to compete with each other usually. So right now I'm just thinking, oh, there might be leaves here and there, and putting some super loose lines and spaces. I'm blending these two greens a little bit. You can blend colors. See how the colors come together and they blend a little bit on the paper? We love that because then that gives some really cool shapes to draw on later, and it might inspire you. I didn't create that, but I might create on it later, and that's really wonderful. I just had this little moment of inspiration. I might want to put a little bit of, I don't know if you call it centers in these potential flowers. How cute is that? What you're noticing is where the water comes, like say there's a little drop of water here. If I come in with a color and I drip a little bit of pigment in there, the color will move with that water. We call that wet on wet. And then if you put some paint where there's no water, kind of dry on dry, right? So it looks different. Wet on wet, dry on dry. I'm going to pull this color down a little bit. It's blending with what was already in there. I make a line here and it doesn't blend with anything because it's not touching any of the wet or colored stuff. It looks like we're going to end up having some peach colored or coral. I guess this is kind of a pretty coral color. I'm just going with it because I ended up making those lines and I was like, well, I guess that's what going to be some of my stems will be that color. One thing that I love to do near the conclusion of a painting is just get a lot of water, a lot of pigment, really saturate my brush. And then I just splatter it like literally everywhere. It adds so much play and whimsy. And then after the watercolor dries, you have so much to play with. Those could be centers of flowers. They could be the entirety of a whole flower segment. Sometimes those water splatters mix with other colors that are already on the page and just create something that you didn't even plan for, but is really beautiful. So this is kind of the process that I go through when I'm trying to just lay some colors down. I don't know what it's going to end up being, but after this dries, it will have so many new shapes that I never even really thought to make, but now I can work with and be creative with later. So hopefully this gave you some inspiration to work with some of the supplies and just let go, see what comes of it. Play with the color, play with your mood, play with the music in your environment, and see what comes out.
Wow, Kendra, that was beautiful. I love how you encourage us to let go and showing these various techniques and just letting the watercolor magically move across the page. So Kendra, nature has a magical way of helping to soothe and calm our emotions, especially when life abruptly changes. As we wind down the summer season and inch closer to the fall, can you demonstrate how to use lines, shapes, and our creativity to embrace these seasonal changes?
So this is my third reverse coloring book, Mindful Journeys. The idea here was to just create even more spaces where you can lean into your creativity, find some mindfulness in your art. So there's all sorts of different options for pages in here. There's things that are very abstract this way, lots of splatters. And as we were talking about before, laying down the watercolor, it's like a first layer. You can see objects, or you can just literally trace what's on the page and find mindfulness in that process. This is one of my favorite pages because I just really love these really bright, springy colors. Earlier, I was creating on this page using some of the really amazing Crayola products. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my process and maybe create with you a little bit. These are the ultra fine point doodle markers. I love these because look at how tiny these tips are. Like, this is something just personally that I love, a really fine tip when I'm doing things. The thicker ones are a lot of fun too, to lay down bigger shapes, but these pens are really inspiring for me. One example of how to create in these books, every little shape can become anything. And if I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with my lines, I just put more lines on it. Wanted this to be a little wreath. I just made a whole bunch of lines in the shape of what I might think the wreath is. And sooner or later, it starts looking like something. You just add colors and add in layers. Here I added a bunch of leaves as the wreath goes around the little bird friend that we have. It looked like a bird to me, so I outlined it, and now it looks like a bird. I think that's really exciting. Pretty much everywhere I look in the world is a flower. So all of these little shapes, all I want to do is make a stem that goes along with the line and put some leaves on it. Check out these pens, by the way. Crayola Click, like, how fun is that? I can't get enough of this. Maybe the center wants to be yellow. I have all this space here. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything, but see how this is a darker spot and then there's like gradients of lighter. I'm just going to trace those. I don't know. I've never seen a flower like this, but that's fine. And one of the things that happens when you're following the watercolors is that now it looks like I purposely made the center of this flower dark and the outer is lighter. And I just love that part of reverse coloring where you can use any products you want, be inspired by what was there, and now you're making something that you didn't even know existed before. You ever seen purple leaves? I haven't, but I'm inspired now to put some purple leaves on this flower. One of the things that I really love about reverse coloring too is sometimes I don't think at all. I don't want to see a flower. I don't want to see anything. I just want to trace and let my mind go away for a little bit. So there's shapes and lines and splotches and dots. Sometimes I just take a black pen and go really slow. I stop where the lines stop and I start where they start, and I just follow the shapes that I'm seeing. After a while, it looks like something cohesive. I don't know how to explain how that happens, but it all came from me and it all came from what's inside of me, and it all just seems to make sense after a little while. Something about a black pen on the watercolor colors, they look good together. They're like best friends already. You don't even have to try. And you can do this, that demonstration that we just did, you can do this on your own. Just throw down some colors that you never planned on being anything. And then the next thing you know, while you're being mindful, they become something. And you did that. Also, for me, sometimes I feel like I didn't do that. Sometimes I feel like I didn't actually make the painting to start with because it was gonna come later. And then when I'm drawing, I didn't actually do this either because I painted it earlier. So it's a way that I can kind of let myself off the hook. And I really love that about reverse coloring because I don't have to be on the hook for anything. Things just show up and then they're like my little friends. So that's something that I love to do. I also wanted to share this other product. Let me just say, I love these Crayola color sticks. They're like the perfect density and consistency to color over top of my watercolors, and especially in the book. So that I did down here, this was all white and behind here, and I was able to layer my colors and blend them all together. So I'm just gonna do another little bit over on this side because this is just too cool not to share. So I started with like a darker one. I'm just gonna fill in, like these just go on so smooth and they layer on top of each other really well. So if you're wanting to like blend or make a really dark space or put colors together, I'm just doing like a dark in the bottom. I'm extending that color up a little bit, but not quite as dark. And then take like the next lightest color, start midway from where you were and start going over that and then extending up a little higher. It's like the green is coming up from the dark base. And how cool is this that like these go on in such a way that you can still see what's going on behind them, but you're adding and turning this part of the drawing into something completely different than it was to start with. And then of course, I love some beautiful yellow. So I'm just gonna put some yellow over top near the top of this section. And now I have these like pieces down at the bottom of this painting that now there's something completely different on their own. Something neat about these as well is that the colors, when you go, if you want to go back to pens or ink, markers of any kind, they layer really well. So also check out these. I'm going to use one of these metallic pens. Super cool. You just shake them up and kind of get them going a little bit, and then they're ready to go. So I'm going to do some, I did some black outlines, see over on this one. I'm going to do some metallic outlines on this side. And you can go over top of those color sticks that we used. This looks like an artichoke to me. This is so much fun. So I have this beautiful little artichoke now down at the bottom of my page with these gradients of colors. I also found these Crayola brush pens to be really super satisfying because I love brushing with my paint, but then now I'm on this stage, I'm with marker. And how cool is that? You just start with like a thin line, push a little bit, and you have a completely different shape. I can make leaves. I love these brush pens because you can do something super thin and tiny and then something more thick and cover a space if you want. They just go on so smooth. So here I am with the yellow brush pen. Something I love about this one is that I can go over a space and the yellow will come through, but it won't cover up everything that's there. I really love how dark this is over here, but I just want it to like shine a little bit. How is that? The yellow marker is blending with the blue paint underneath. I can't even, this is so cool. I'm definitely going to be using these brush pens for other things. So exciting. It's like I'm drawing, but I'm actually painting. Blending with that blue, yellow, green, blue, all the colors. This is making me very happy. Needless to say, I love the layerability of these brush pens and the versatility of my line. I can fill a whole space or over a tiny little spot, like, oh, these cute little leaves, they want to be yellow right now. This spot right here with these leaves really inspired me. Once you draw on a place, you don't have to leave it. You come back and change it, add to it. Everything can be layers. And these pages in my books, just FYI, are super thick. They don't bleed through. It's not getting anything on this page. So that's really cool. Here are all of these different techniques and all of these different products, so many different colors. It all started as just laying of watercolor. I didn't feel like I had to create any of it because it was already there for me. I was able to make all of this just using what was already there. I hope that you're also able to use some of the pages in my books, use some of these amazing products, and just lean into creativity, lean into anything that you need for your emotional well-being and your process. I hope that you have a wonderful time creating, and I hope to see so many things if you come and find me on social media.
I know for me, I feel so relaxed, and I love how you layered all of the various techniques. One of the things that this reminded me of was in my classroom experience, I would have a poster on the wall that says, effective drawing depends upon learning to see. And in your approach, what I love most is you can see endless possibilities, right? And these can be objects or images that we recognize, or they could just be a simple line that you're drawing that connects and builds, and maybe it reveals something that you didn't see initially, but appeared through your exploration. So I appreciate that. And also, as a parent with kids who are or will be at least starting school, boy, this will relieve some stress. So I know that I'll be using this book. Thank you, Kendra, for these amazing demos. While our viewers are finishing their mindful journey or through the season's art, I'd like to remind everyone that it is easy to stay updated on future Creative Spa for Teachers sessions and many other free learning events by signing up to receive the Crayola Education Monthly e-newsletter. Just check the education box to have free learning ideas delivered right to your inbox. Kendra, your great insights on using art to create meditative moments has inspired our viewers. Please tell us how we can follow you and continue to learn more.
Anybody can follow me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, Kendra Norton Art. You can pretty much find me anywhere. Thank you so much, and I hope you come join me. One of my favorite things is seeing pages out of my books that folks have created on. I always try to share them on my stories and build a community around reverse coloring and just leaning into creativity. So definitely come and message me. I'm very approachable, and I love hearing from everybody. If you would love to try some of my books, you can find my books wherever books are sold, online through Workman Publishing or Amazon. And I recently found out that they're also available in Walmart. So I'm hoping that it just continues to expand. So wherever you can go and buy books, you can find Reverse Coloring by Kendra Norton. Thank you.
I certainly follow you, and I will be making my own creations and sharing those with you as well through your social media account. So thank you for that information. What additional mindfulness tips do you have as we continue to use your reverse coloring approach on paper and in life?
Creating a space for creativity inside yourself is one thing, but also creating a space outside of yourself always seems to help. So while you're creating, try speeding up, try slowing down, try, if you're watercoloring, try using a really beautiful glass to put your water in, put a sticker on your pen, anything that will help create a space for you to just open up and feel a little freer or a little more beautiful. Creativity never goes away. It's always in season, and you can do the same page in a reverse coloring book or the same idea on a blank page over and over and over. It's never the same. And it really is truly just an endless space to go.
Thank you, Kendra, for those insights and for inspiring us today. We also want to thank our friends at Workman Publishing for sharing this great series. And lastly, we want to thank all of you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy to be here, and I can't wait to see what you're creating.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourselves.